Hello and Happy New Year. It's 2025 now. And over the last several weeks of the year of 2024, I've been having a lot of conversations about forgiveness, talking to friends about their forgiveness journeys, about my own. And I wanted to regale you with some story and some of my own realizations. To preface, I've not been a very forgiving person. I tend to be very um, easily wounded, and it doesn't come easily to me to speak about my problems or the things that I have going on with other people. I've always shied away from that kind of interaction, even at my own expense, and often at my own expense. So we'll rewind to 2012, which was 12 years ago, 13 ish years ago. And I was new in marriage and in a different marriage, not the one I'm in now. I was new in marriage. I had married a man that started out wonderful, and over the course of several years that we were together, it really became unmanageable, quite miserable. Um, he had been arrested at the beginning of our marriage back in 2012, and the energy and the circumstances that it brought into our lives were so damaging. He had been caught via a sting operation trying to dabble in some very nefarious activities. And at that point, all trust was lost. I went out seeking advice. I went to the people that I trusted the most. I went to two people that I trusted the most, and they sat in front of me and they said, "Take it to your grave." Basically, to say that if you're going to stay in this marriage, keep your mouth shut. No one can know about this. And although there was a pending court case where things could have really blown up, um, that was the advice that I took. It was the only advice that I received, and that was a course of action that I took. And in retrospect, I would have probably said, pump the brakes. I need some time because I'm overwhelmed with this accusation and this new information. I don't know what's true and what's not true. And as time ticked by, this partner who started out really lovely became increasingly angry, increasingly hostile toward me, um, abusive in a variety of ways, never physical, but um, verbally and emotionally and psychologically abusive, where I was encountering arguments as if to siphon my energy on a daily basis. I was encountering drugs and alcohol entering my home. Not that we never drank, but we weren't hard drug users. We didn't really drink at home. At that point in my life, drinking really wasn't even part of my lifestyle. I was still a personal trainer at that point and very calorically aware, we'll say. So all of these low vibrational shifts and changes and the things that bring negative energy into your life were now entering my home on a regular basis. Um, my spouse at that time was distancing himself from me, spending lots of time outside of the house. We had opposite schedules. So I would work during the day, he would work at night, and some nights he would just stay out until dawn. So for me, um, I had a combination of relief that he wasn't in the house, but anger and resentment that I felt really trapped. I felt like I was stuck in a situation because I had constant negative input about myself. I was constantly being in a place where I couldn't I didn't feel at liberty to talk about what was going on. I was instructed to take it to my grave and was attempting to do that. At least while I bided my time and figured out what I did want to do. And all the while I'm taking in these either subtle jabs or less subtle jabs, threats about what he would do to himself or what he would do to me if I left. And once I did finally leave, 4 years after that incident, I had a lot of healing to do. Once I was in a safe place, emotionally, physically, mentally, or at least significantly better, I started to have post traumatic stress symptoms come up, flashbacks and nightmares and things like that for all of this emotional weight that I hadn't had the opportunity to digest. It's hard to digest emotional content when you are not safe. Um, so you need to get yourself safe. And now that I was in this place, I was walking away from a marriage where I just had so much anger built up toward him for becoming this monster. Um, I don't believe that's who he actually is, but the demons were on his back, and that's what he was in that phase of life. I was angry at myself for allowing this breakdown of my psyche, of my health, of my physical health, mental health, emotional health. Um, I also was shackled with a ton of debt, tens of thousands of dollars worth of debt, um, that had been placed in my name for things that were have then gone into default, purchases that he made. And I was just angry. I was really fucking angry, and I didn't know what to do with all of the anger. um, I slowly started to shift to talking about my experience. I ended up moving away from home and all of the people that loved me and supported me because I just didn't feel like I could make all of the changes necessary to be the person that I wanted to be. I wanted to get away from the old stories, and I wanted to get away from the people that knew me as someone in those old habits of being being a doormat, allowing themselves to be taken advantage of, staying in situations that are negative and bad for me. Um, and I still love my people from home. I still love my family. That never changed. But I needed to be far away enough from those uh, those patterns to create new ones. So I found that after I moved, I was still carrying around a lot of anger and a lot of resentment and a lot of like staunch unwillingness to forgive. That was my protection at that time. And as I gave myself time, not not just time elapsing, but like actual space and time where I had downtime that was being used for stuff other than working or scrolling or being relaxed or entertained. I didn't want to use my time that way. There was healing that needed to be done that couldn't be squandered with scrolling. There were actual activities that needed to be done to create that healing and to create that space. So I put myself in a location. I moved from northern New Jersey down to Baton Rouge, which at the time when I moved, I was like, it's so fucking boring here. This is perfect. There's nothing to do. I don't have to work a lot of hours a week to support my lifestyle. I can focus. I can focus on creating space, um, and that space was in having free time that I could use toward healing practices. And I went in heavy with the somatic experiencing. I teach that. Um, it's a wonderful, wonderful tool that helps us go inward and feel where those emotions are being stored. If we're not letting things go, if we're not forgiving, then we're keeping those emotions stored within us. So there are practices that we have to go internally and just feel, not express an emotion as it's tied to the story that we have in our head. I wasn't not all the time at least, but I had patterns to grow out of. This emotion doesn't arise as a result of shit talking yourself or replaying a really terrible story in your mind so as to get it to come up. This process is more about asking yourself where it's stored, getting yourself quiet enough that you can ask yourself where it's stored, and just going in there and feeling it, being really curious about it. The same as you would with like a little kid, you'd be like, "Oh, what are you playing with? Oh, look, it's yellow." You'd really make it. You'd make it a point to really observe what's there. Um, and the practice of somatic experiencing is very abstract. We'll ask, what color is it? What kind of texture does it have? What does it feel like in the body? What is it touching? Is it touching organs? Is it touching bones? And you can go really deeply with these questions, even beyond the guidance that Dr. Peter Levine has given us. He's the developer of this particular um, practice. But I found that with time, as a result of going inward and doing this very intentional work, so much of the emotion was being released. And this wasn't immediate. I would say I was probably at it for about 5 years with um, dealing with things from my husband, but then also dealing with things that happened earlier in my life. What did it feel like to not really feel like a valued member of my group? What did it feel like to kind of to be a black sheep? What did it feel like to look at those patterns that seem to emerge over time? For me, oops, sorry, I touched the mic. For me, I had a lot of patterns around like public humiliation or but that was for me. Maybe the same thing happens to someone else and they never think twice ever again about it. But nevertheless, we have our own pattern. We have our own things that we need to go in and address. And whatever emotional states are kind of underscoring the vibration of our life, we need to go in and be curious, be observant about them. And I found that quite naturally as a result of giving myself space to heal, do the somatic experiencing, do the meditations, make it a point to do activities that would put me in contact with my own soul, whether it's, for me, it was walks in nature, it was um, being in meditation, it was going to yoga class, it was pondering spiritual texts, no one in particular, not even one faith in particular. At the highest levels, all faiths go back to that one up there. There's only one, and that's the beauty in it because we're all connected. You can't escape from the connection. You can't escape the love. But um, this healing occurs naturally where I had an epiphany one day when I was walking with a girlfriend, and this was, it's been 12 years. I would say that I was really deep in the healing for 5 or so. And I'm walking around through the French Quarter where I live with this wonderful woman who's become my friend, and she's talking about her own forgiveness journey. And as she's talking and as we're walking, I'm reflecting and saying, I never think about that anymore. I never dream about it. It never pops into my head. Um, do I remember it here and there when there are very specific things mentioned? Yeah, I do. But it doesn't throw me off of my day. It doesn't have a lasting impact. I am free of it. I'm very free of it. I don't say that I'm entirely free of it, but I'm very free of it. And I never think about him. I never think about this occurrence. And I believe this is a result of the repatterning of the nervous system that happens when we do this healing work. It's not theoretical. Some of it's theoretical, but you need to actually apply it. If you understand the theories that allow us to understand why it's efficacious, that's helpful. But that is not in and of itself doing the healing work. Um, So, my friends, go forth, do your somatic experiencing, do your breath work, do your meditation, go out in nature. Um, what is the thing that kids say, like, go touch grass? They say it like super snarky, but like, actually go and touch the grass. I'll like be at the gym, like putting my hands on the palm trees and just be like, they probably get it. They're over there playing basketball. They get it, whatever. But go make it a point to connect with you, all of the aspects of you that are feeling badly and have lots of stored emotion in your belly or in your body. Go be a part of the you that's out in nature. We come from one amazing divine creator, and so does nature. So nature is a part of us. Other people are a part of us. Some people have a lot more healing to do than others, but put yourself in these healing places, in these healing spaces with people that uh, want to see the best version of you. And take your time. You'll get there. Carve out little instances. If you're caught in the rat race, you're super busy, carve it out right before you fall asleep. That's a great time to do it anyway. Carve it out right when you're waking up. It doesn't need to take a long time, but it does need to be done, and you deserve it. So go forth, heal. If you forgive, you forgive. You'll get there naturally. There's no pressure to do it on anyone's timeline. But once you heal, the forgiving will arise on its own, and you can do that. That benefit is reserved for you. It's yours, it's your birthright, it's what you are, it's who you are, it's within your capacity right now. It's not just your potential. You can go and do this. All right. I love you. Happy 2025 and beyond. This is going to be the best yet. All right. Love you guys.